here to talk about the middle school robotics opportunity that's been made available to us by our representative Ron Young and our Senator John Eklund, and of course our AWT group, which is the Alliance for Working Together. And with us today is Allison Scott and Tony Node-Prager from the AWT. And they're going to talk a little bit about what the vision is for this. And you know, in this county, we are very, very fortunate to have, not only in Lake County, but in Geauga County, partners that are willing to help move what we're trying to do in the classrooms and have those business partners. It wasn't long ago that schools worked in a silo, and then higher ed worked in a silo, and business worked in a silo. Now, you know, more than ever before, we have relationships with the people that are working in business, because they know that if we're doing a good job in the K-12 environment that prepares students for the workforce or higher ed, whatever the case may be, through their own career pathway choice, we all benefit. So we are very, very fortunate to have a group like this willing to help out and do such a neat project. So I'm not going to tell you all the details. I'm going to let Allison
Thanks.
take it from here.
Yep,
Allison?
I'm good. Hi, everybody. My name, as Brian had said, is Allison Scott. I organize the high school robotics program and have since its inception. And my day job is president of Freedon Corporation in Mentor. So the reason we started the high school program and basically why we are working so hard, the AWT in general works hard to engage with schools so that the manufacturing companies and the schools have a direct connect, if you will. So I think there was a long time desire on both sides to communicate. You know, the business community, especially our manufacturing companies in Lake and Geauga counties, are. Am I not high enough?
Yeah, a little closer.
Up here. Thank you. Now it's hiding. Okay. Our manufacturing companies in Lake and Geauga are always willing to help. We have a great connection between all of them. It goes beyond just this project. They're happy to assist in any way. So that's the whole mission of the AWT, is to promote rewarding careers in manufacturing. A lot of it is awareness. The students, we work in different ways to expose the students to manufacturing of all ages. We do tours. So if at any point you guys want to have a tour, or students come out and coordinate with Tony, and we'll be happy to get you guys on a tour to one of our manufacturing companies. We also do speakers, if you ever need a speaker for your class or speaker to the school. Career fairs we do, the Think Manufacturing Expo. I don't know if all of you are familiar with that. Hopefully you are. Obviously, the one program that we have that gets the most attention is the Robobots competition. For some reason, people like sparks and, you know, fighting things. So we have grown in our first year in 2011. We had 10 teams that started out. Last year, at the competition, we had 32 teams. We had 34. A couple couldn't get their bots working at the end. It was all those rotten snow days. I'm sure you all had challenges. So we have had about 800 participants. So every year, it's about 250 students at one time are working in a manufacturing company. Most of them are doing it in the facility of the manufacturing, having their lessons, their meetings, unless they have a facility like Auburn. A couple of our career centers, ATEC Career Center does the work out at their facility as well. But it's to connect the work that they're doing and that whole project and the path from design to build and test in the manufacturing company, kind of pairing it with careers in manufacturing. They can see while they're there all the people that are working there, the machinists, the engineers, the customer service people, and it's all really to give them that insight, the direct insight into what manufacturing is all about. So is it working? Well, it's tracking. It's one of those things that we're hoping to do a better job. It's difficult when you have kids and privacy and all those things, as you all know. But we know from what we know from firsthand information from teachers and the students themselves, we've had alums go on to pursue engineering and other manufacturing type fields of study. That's why why we're big proponents of showing the kids exactly what manufacturing is all about. You know, what is an engineer? You know, there's not a TV show on engineering, which is so weird, except for the How It's Made and those kinds of series, of course. But so we have other students that have entered the workforce. I know at Freedom we've hired a couple. One of the ones that we hired actually led the team then the next year, which was kind of neat. They are working full time. Most of their companies offer tuition reimbursement. I don't know how many of you are familiar with what goes on really at the corporate manufacturing level. But tuition reimbursement is offered by so many of our AWT companies. They'll pay for the student or the employee to go to school, whether it be Lakeland or Cleveland State or wherever, and pay for their tuition. A lot of them will pay them for their time there, pay for books and everything, so it can be very reasonable for them. In addition, we have some scholarships at Lakeland that the AWT has raised. So all of you are doing great things at your schools with STEM or STEM classes or science and all of that kind of stuff. Obviously, that hands-on style and the approach with that project-based learning and all of those things are very engaging to the students. They're excited, they love them. So the parents, many of our parents of the high school students were saying, hey, can't we do this at the middle school level? My younger kids would love this. And obviously, that's what we did. But they get together with their company sponsors. Some are already working on it. They've been together and chatting over the summer. They'll work at least once a week, if not more. And when it comes to competition time, you wouldn't even know them compared to one of our employees, honestly. They come in, they put their things down, they go right to work. It's very exciting. But they really put a lot of time and effort into it. They're working with their company sponsor. They get the orientation and the safety training and everything that one of the employees would get at the manufacturing company. So we wanted to come up with a program that would still have that wow and be really cool and fun, like the Combat Robots program at the high school level, realizing that these are younger students. We can't really take them out of the school environment and bring them to our manufacturing companies. And also, you know, we didn't want anything that was too dumbed down, if you will, because we want them to be able to go through that and explore the process. But we just were very cognizant of what the limitations and kind of criteria we needed to stick with. So we hope we've come up with a good plan. So this first year out will be a good test.
My name is Julie Hildebrand. As she said, I've been doing bots at the high school level with Beaumont for 4 years, and then before that, a year with Cleveland Heights. Yeah, it's been a long time. So we've actually created 2 different teams at Beaumont. What I'm going to talk about is what really happens on a bots team. This is obviously the first year, so it's not exact, but it's kind of similar. It's got to be kind of similar to the high school team. And then I'll talk a little bit about how to get started and what you need to do to get started. All right, so what happens on a junior bots team? Basically, the team gets together with some experts, and they will actually do all the brainstorming of what they want the bot to be. They know the restrictions of what we're seeing, and they will come up with all sorts of really cool ideas. We encourage them to do research by watching YouTube battle bots. It's really rough life, you know, that they had to watch all these matches, so they're really upset about it. And they also keep track of their budget. You know, we all have a budget, and Tony will talk more about that. We create and track a project plan. This is near and dear to my heart because I do project planning for a living. And this is something that a lot of kids have never seen before. You know, it's a simple to-do list, really, but what's critical path, what needs to be done, how to keep track of it, how to make sure everyone's doing what they need to be done. And then, really importantly, they troubleshoot problems. You know, the bot is not going to work exactly right the first time. You know, maybe you test it, and they have to tweak things, and they have to really get into the electrical, into the mechanical, and figure out what's going on, how do I fix it? And this is really developing a lot of critical thinking and then we'll compete on April 30th with all the other teams. Hopefully there are a lot of teams, and kind of in between the high school teams. I'll let Tony talk more about that. I think you'll talk more about that. Yeah, so forming a team. First you want to find a coach. a lot of you are the teachers. This is something that you can do. I'll talk about the responsibilities of what a coach would do. It doesn't have to be a teacher. I'm the coach for Kenston this year. So you want to choose a team. I like to keep it under 7 team members. Our Kenston team has 13 because there's just a ton of interest this first year. I also strongly suggest that you have some kind of continuity. So you have 6th, 7th, and 8th graders on it so that next year the 6th and 7th graders can continue on and keep feeding in younger kids. But one of the things that we're supplying to you is a generic action plan with the basic steps on how to do it. The criteria for successful team member, I kind of made this up based on what I saw at Beaumont and what I felt were successful teammates. They're not necessarily have to have technical skill because you have a lot of other things like project planning, doing the documentation, designing and doing the t-shirts that maybe you don't need a technical skill. What you do need is responsiveness to communication. I think we've all struggled with that at one time or another, that they get back to you in an email or a text. They're responsible for doing their actions. They're interested in learning, and they're good with working on a team. So these are the things that we kind of really like to look at. I'd also suggest finding several volunteers with technical skills if you don't have them yourself. The next things you have to do is find a meeting place. You have to become a club within your organization. Adult leader responsibilities. So the coach is really about creating the team, making sure the kids are safe. Also, the coach should really help with the project planning. We don't assume that the kids are capable of doing this by themselves the first couple years. Certainly, when you do it after you do it a year or so, the kids really take that over. But the first year of forming it, the coach really needs to help with that. Establishing clear expectations, maintaining behavior. Again, I cannot stress enough to stress about communication. Make sure the robot is ready on April 30th, 2015. 2016. Oh, so close. Okay, and then any manufacturing partners, they'll assist as needed, maybe lead the brainstorming sessions, create a process map with the kids, ensure the documentation is complete. So they're really consultants. We really want the kids to actually be doing the work. Because especially at the end, when you go into the pits and you're repairing your bot, we don't want any adults touching the bot. We want the repairs to be done by the kids. So the kids need to know about the bot. So you want to schedule like a parent-student kickoff meeting, obviously like a 1 hour to start. Talk about communication. I did a thing where I paid the first girl to send me in the middle of an email, I actually said, I'll pay you $1 if you actually respond to this. And out of 8 team members, I had 1 who responded. And the rest were like, well, I didn't know what to respond. And it's like, well, you need to figure that one out. So I can't stress it enough. And if you assign a task, if you're assigned a task, you need to do it, or you need to ask for help if you don't think you're going to be able to do it. This is a really tough concept for them to really understand. It's okay to ask for help and say, hey, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. But it's a skill that I think is really important in the real world. And one of the things that I do at the end of the year is we do what I call a post-mortem, where I go through and say, what worked right, what worked wrong with the project and the product, or with the bot. So you can really sit there and go, what would I have done differently? First meeting, once you have your kickoff, then you have your first meeting. Brainstorming the team name, brainstorming the design perhaps, get a contact list, have them stress which way they best communicate. Have them do research on bots online. Look at YouTube of past high school competitions. I will note that there's a big difference between the 15-pound bot and the 2-pound bot we're talking about here. And then really start talking about roles, and I'll talk about the roles next, but which ones do they prefer to do? Because one of the things is, as I said, not all the kids will be doing the same thing. They'll all be helping with the bot, they'll all be, doing, but we want specific kids in charge of different areas to make sure they all get done. So some of these roles, this is entirely up to you, but this is what I found has worked. Is some kind of marketing manager. This is the designing of the posters. If you want to put up posters at your school, this is designing of the t-shirts. So it's kind of a cool thing that someone can do, and all the way through to the end. We did different kinds of, on our document folder, we did different kind of section things that were very creative. They did all of these things. So it's really more of a different skill set that you wouldn't expect to see, but kids loved it. Team leader. This person is the nag. It's the person who goes around and goes, are you coming to the meeting? Are you coming to the meeting? Are you coming to the meeting? Have you done your stuff? Have you done your stuff? This is very important. And can be combined with the project manager. It kind of depends. The team leader also is kind of the spokesperson for the team, but it's really making sure the kids are all doing what they say they're going to do. Documentation manager. This is just making sure all your documentation is correct. I would strongly suggest having one person leading that charge, making sure that all that gets done. All the kids will have to participate in it. Again, I'm a firm believer in putting one name down as the responsible, because if you only have one name, that person knows they're responsible. If you have more, then no one is responsible. Project manager, like I said, this can be combined with team leader. If you want, it's really the keeper of the project plan, and they also do a lot of nagging. Did you do your work? These are the actions we need to do. Did you do it? Did you do it? Did you do it? And then a driver. We had two different ways of determining the driver. With the first group at Beaumont, we actually did a competition where it was just a really simple obstacle course. The second team, I came up with, they had to do an obstacle course with a little, remote controlled car while getting shot at with Nerf guns by like 6 different people with really loud music going, and and they didn't know any of this was going to happen. So it kind of really brought out like how well did they work under pressure, because the driver's a lot of pressure. So we had a lot of fun doing it, and we actually had some girls who just couldn't handle it. They couldn't, and others were just like, okay, I don't know what this is, but it doesn't bother me, and they could totally focus, and that's who we wanted to be our driver. So these are some of the suggested roles. As I said, you don't have to do roles. So I'm going to have Tony Node-Krager talk now about budget and many, many other things. I think you just have to hold it.
Thank you. Well, we have 2 special visitors, and if we don't mind having them speak first and kind of rearrange our agenda a little bit, they can really talk about the budget from their level and their perspective and what they've done really to get us where we are here today. So with that, we have Representative Ron Young and State Senator John Eklund.
All righty, so I'm State Representative Ron Young. This is Senator John Eklund. And I was told to talk a little bit about how we did this, right? The process involved. So it's not particularly complicated, but it is somewhat involved. You all know there's a state budget, I'm sure. It's about 130 billion now? Yeah, I missed 10 billion here and there. I just, easy to do these days. At any rate, so we were tasked to find funding for several programs for Lake County, this being one of them. And the steps involved in that. Well, firstly, we need to contact the players, which in my case, from the House side, we brought down representatives from the Alliance for Working Together, from the Steris Corporation. We brought down Brian Bontempo from Lake County Education Service Center, representatives from Lakeland Community College. We brought in our sort of caucus guru, if you will, on education, the Speaker of the House, and several other people, and we had a sit-down meeting and convinced them why this project is necessary. At the time, this was well before the budget, so we put together a legislative initiative just to introduce the House as a whole to the concept. And so we had some hearings on the issue and circulated the information about as to what we want to do and how we want to go about it, et cetera, et cetera. And then when the budget came up, John and I got together, and the House starts the process, so I introduced it first, and somehow we got it through the House. Not always easy to do on a project like this, because people wonder why in the world do Young and Eklund want to get funding just for their counties? Just for their counties. This doesn't go to the whole state. This is just for our people, just for you guys. So we were thinking of you. So it's just for us. So, but nonetheless, they bought into it. We got it done, got it through the House. Your senator here, who I believe was one of the leaders in our state on several different initiatives, this being one of them, got it through the Senate. I think he exercised the same types of processes over there. It went to conference committee. There you have to fight for it again, because conference committee is an ugly place where the greatest ideas of men and angels are simply shredded and burned and lost forever. But somehow we got it to the conference committee as well. And the governor eventually signed it, and that's not always easy either. The governor removed, I think, over 100 items from the budget this last time, which he line item vetoed out. This governor is very attentive. He pays attention to detail. So, and I think the reasons why we got the money are obvious. It was an easy sell, and you have to market the idea in the General Assembly, and it has to be a marketable idea. It has to be something that your colleagues will buy into. And there again, John's persuasive skills are dynamic and I think unparalleled in many ways in the General Assembly. So he was a huge asset in getting that done, especially in the Senate. So I think John might have a few words to say as well.
Sure.
Thank you, Senator.
And thank you, Chairman, and thank you all for allowing me to be with you today. This is a big, big day, and we're all very, very excited about it. One thing that working with Chairman Young here has helped me with is that he has been in the General Assembly a lot longer than I have, and has such a demonstrated record of when he gets behind something, it's purposeful, it's useful, it's helpful. And when you have a reputation like that, long-standing reputation, to be able to team with him and bring whatever skill set I bring to it, to be able to have, Ron Young's name on the scroll, so to speak, gives you an automatic degree of credibility with an awful lot of people down there. And I'll continue to hold hold your coattails anytime I can, Chairman. But to me, the real reason why we were successful with this particular project in the budget process, in a very conservative General Assembly, which is very, very careful about coming up with ways to spend, new ways to spend money, has very little to do with me, a bit more, but not everything to do with Representative Young. It had to do with you. Because when we can go down there, and with AWT and Allison and her dad, Roger's sister, who, when you can bring people like that to the table, as the chairman said, and they can demonstrate firsthand to legislators how very, very purposeful what we're trying to do is, and what the likely outcomes are going to be, it makes all the difference in the world. And for them to be able to be advocates, knowing the character and the caliber and the depth of the people who are going to be actually executing on this program, and they can carry that down there and speak for you and in a sense, present you to the legislative process, it really takes things over the top. And so most importantly, I would like to thank not just the chairman, not just Allison and AWT and Brian Von Tempo for his exercise on this whole thing, but each and every one of you, because in a sense, you were on display down there, and the legislature liked what they heard and what they saw. And I have every confidence that as you proceed forward with it, you're going to justify every confidence that was placed in you by the budgeting process. And in the end, we're going to do what is probably the single most important thing that we do in the state, right? And that is we're going to advance the interests of our young people. We're going to help them not just get by, but become better. And in the process, not just become better students, but become better citizens and better Americans. And for that, again, all thanks to you and for what you've done, what you're continuing to do, and what you're going to do in the future. So thank you very, very much.
So actually, I'm Tony Krager, the new Executive Director for the AWT Foundation. My contact information is in your packet. Please feel free to reach out to me, text, phone call, email. I'm fairly responsive, usually within 24 hours. There's a turnaround with response. If there's a special need, let me know there's a special need, and I will act on it as soon as I possibly can. So, what I've done with AWT before I became the executive director is I've been running the brackets since 2012-2013 school year, meaning the tournament itself. I've been sitting on the stage kind of doing all of the brackets back and forth. So anyway, I've been doing the tournament, running the brackets. Being a mom of wrestlers, it's pretty much the same kind of tournament. So with that, we're going to talk about the budget. So what kind of money do you have per school to spend? $4,000. And that $4,000 covers pretty much all of your expenses up to 2 bots for this school year. If you have enough interest and you really want to go full go and have 2 teams, you have that opportunity. With that, and you see on this one slide, is basically just a standard budget format for you. Just a template to say, here's the total money, here's what you're spending, and it's more for the kids to really start understanding budget consciousness, where the money goes. And then also too, it will be helpful with the whole purchasing process, and that is in progress on the most appropriate way to do the purchasing order. Brian will be working with the treasurers from the school, his treasurer, as well as AWT and DEPCO to find out what's the easiest solution for all involved. For the end result, which is April 30th at Lakeland Community College. That is a Saturday. We're anticipating the students arriving around lunchtime, 12:31-ish. We will finalize that date and secure it, and we'll make sure that we communicate that out to everybody. And then we will start with the battles. And
Secure, it's the time that we'll figure
yes,
out. Yeah.
the date is 100% secure. Time is to be determined, but around there. So the battles. It will be single elimination format. We will be creating a tournament bracket just for the junior team, and this is the junior bots team, so it will be working in between the high school team. So your students will have the opportunity to sit and actually watch some of the quarterfinals, semifinals, and then finals from the high school team. It's intense, and it's fun to watch.
And
So
we're hoping that having that
being that it's single elimination, the matches will be 3 minutes each. And the judging will be based on aggression and control, not complete annihilation. So, and the aggression is how many hits the robot inflicts, as well as control, how well the robot's controlled by the driver. So that's two separate pieces. The portfolio piece, there is some paperwork that's attached, just as with any piece of curriculum. And what that is an expectation form. And this is a critical thinking form for each student to complete. What do you expect from joining the bots? That's question number 1 that they are to fill out week 1. Midway through is, what have you learned so far? And at the end, the question is, okay, what have you learned? Now what are you going to do with it? And so those questions are really going to help us with starting to compile data as well, and quantifiable data. And that will be reported out to some of our higher level education representatives that have been asking for specific information like this. The journal of the project, which is the meeting minute template, which you have. There's also a SWOT analysis for the kids to use, and strengths, weaknesses, opportunity, threats of the competition, the bot, and overall. And of course, reporting the budget. This is a pilot program, and actually this is really referencing Senator Eklund and Representative Young. I think they've really said the most of it. So the question, just so we can get it on tape, because I'm sure this is going to be one of those frequently asked questions. The question is, we've got 50 kids interested and we have enough for 2 bots. That's a whole lot of kids for just 2 teams. So how do we narrow it down?
Yeah, as I talked about the criteria earlier, I would really get teacher recommendations if teachers know them. The way we did it was we really talked to a lot of parents, but also, hey, do you know people who are responsible children who are interested in this kind of thing? So I really think you need to go through that criteria and go, okay, how do you rate on all these, and see, have them give recommendations maybe. It's a really, really tough question though.
I know where the kids had to fill out why they wanted to be a part of it. They had to get a recommendation. What I don't want to happen is for grades to be a consideration. And I say that because we all know that some of the students that are not the strongest test takers or homework graders are going to be phenomenal at this. Absolutely. So that is one thing that, we stress it at the high school level. We stress it here, I'm hoping to stress it here too. Just please don't have that be one of the criteria to select students, just to make sure we're encompassing everybody.
And we're limiting it.
And especially logistically for the competition itself, given the fact that 5 teams per school would be a heck of a lot of kids, and a heck of a lot of battles to go through. So just the first year, we're limiting it to 2, and then if there's a need or a desire to grow from there, we can talk about it.
Okay, we have one more presenter, and it's all about the bots. And this is Mr. Rob Smith from DEPCO LLC, and he's basically the guru on the bot itself.
Yeah, I don't know about guru, but where are we going to put this here? Is that good? Good afternoon. Thanks, Tony. Okay, I know we've had a lot of talking and everything, so I'm going to keep it short and specific, but my name's Rob Smith. I work with DEPCO. We've done a lot of work with the AWT, NRL. We've supported them from almost day one. I also get involved with, for those of you that are familiar with Skills USA, we do a lot with Skills USA, run competitions there, both state and national. And for those of you that are familiar with VEX Robotics, we do a lot with VEX Robotics, and we run a lot of competitions there. So we've been working with robots for several years, 10, 15 years. And so...
Hi, everybody. My name, as Brian had said, is Allison Scott. If you have questions, just...
YouTube BattleBots. It's really rough life.
Hopefully now I've got it, finally.
It's been a long time.
It was all those rotten snow days.
And he's basically the guru on the bot itself.
I already have our setup. communication, communication, communication. I'll pay you $1 if you actually respond to this. What's going on?
We have two special visitors, and if we don't mind having them speak first and kind of rearrange our agenda a little bit.
All righty, so I'm State Representative Ron Young. This is Senator John Eklund.